Hello, welcome all you beautiful people. Welcome to the home office, the abode, the home office of your buddy, old pal, your amigo, your compadre from the Bleacher Sports Show. And new setup here. Gonna change the room here a little bit, different acoustics, and we're gonna have some fun. This is on tap, and what we do on tap here is we talk all things sports related, news that I haven't had a chance to really cover in these past week's videos. We cover NHL, NFL, NBA, all types of sports here, everything and anything. Now, on tap, I think we're on episode 3. I have to check that back. This is not a weekly thing as far as on tap, but just so we bounce around and we cover all sports and in and out in an hour. I'm not gonna ramble, but just try to hit some points from the sports world that we missed or that I didn't have a chance to cover. Where do I want to begin? As far as being a huge Miami Dolphin fan with Tua, I made a video and I realized that you have to find out if Tua is the future, right? Especially with the amount of assets that we have in the upcoming drafts. So you got to figure out if Tua is your quarterback. Now remember, Tua was at a point where, his career could have been considered done with, no more. With the severity of the injury. Now I know, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's there, and that he's 38 years old. Okay, he's not the quarterback of the future. He's not your franchise quarterback. He's been a quarterback that's been known to, have a couple of good games, 3 or 4 good games in a row, and then would toss up a stinker, inconsistency or throw, a costly INT when it was not the right time. But I kind of felt bad after I read, Ryan Fitzpatrick's statement. Let me tell you what he said. He's gonna, Tua obviously gonna be the starter week 8, right after the bye. So Fitzpatrick said when he found out that Tua was going to be a starter that his heart just hurt all day. He was shocked, quote, when Brian Flores informed him that Tua will be taking over. And then he pondered, whether he'd be, whether he had already played his last game in the NFL. Quote, I basically got fired yesterday, he added. And my day today consisted of Zoom meetings with the guy who fired me and sitting in a room with the guy who replaced me for 4 hours. Talk about being transparent, right? Fitzpatrick, who led the Dolphins, to a 3-3 record, has positioned Miami to be just 1 game out of first place in the AFC East. So, and he's right to a point. He's right to a point. I mean, he's 38 years old. He thinks that he, might have started his last game in the NFL. And he has a point in that. But that the NFL is a business, and you have to move on with the future. And don't get me wrong, I feel bad. Like Ryan, wherever Ryan Fitzpatrick has been, and trust me, living in the metropolitan area, I seen when Fitzpatrick played here for the Jets, New York City, in the New York City area. No matter what team Fitzpatrick plays, which I think that's kind of why he's been able to stick around. These guys would run through a wall for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Make no mistake about it, too. If you live in the metropolitan area here in New York, you know that Ryan Fitzpatrick is the reason why. Now let me just put you guys here. Hold that thought. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 2015 NFL stats. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 2015 NFL stats. Whew. Let's see. What do we have here? His 2015 year. It's amazing with the Jets. He played 16 games. 56.58. Let's see. 59.6 percentage. 335 of 562. 31 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. You know, that was arguably his best year. And why the Jets were successful was because of Ryan Fitzpatrick. He led that team. So it's sad that Fitzpatrick is being moved on from. But you know that you realize that the time is now. And listen, led this team to where they are now. And tip my hat for whatever for what Ryan Fitzpatrick has done so far. Didn't have a chance this week to go over the preview for Rays versus Dodgers World Series preview. Just want to give you my prediction. You know, as we're already tied in at one game apiece. What does that say about just I think about it in perspective, right? Think of it perspective. Look how much money, just think about it. Look how much money Clayton Kershaw makes. No, Clayton Kershaw and let's say Mookie Betts. I'm sure there's, and I might be exaggerating a bit. Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but just those two, their salaries compared to the Rays is probably more than what the Rays make, or just about. Cheers. Grab yourself a cold one. There's plenty to pick from. Make yourself at home. Kick back. So yeah, just that dynamic. And you know, the Dodgers, they're at the point where, you know, that they have to win it. They've been going back there so many times. Maybe they get it back, and you know, that's my thing. You know, like I want them to win. I don't want the Rays to win. American League team. Well, let me give you a preview. Like Margot, Brandon Lowe, Ozo Arena. You have Austin Meadows, Joy Adames, Joey Wendell, Zunino, and Kiermaier. This is the type of lineup that you could expect. You have Yadi Diaz, Mike Brasol, Hunter Renfroe, Mike Perez. These guys on the bench. You could see it for the Dodgers. You could see a lineup of Betts, Seager, Turner, Muncy, Smith, Bellinger, Pollock, Jock Peterson. Right, that's the type of lineup that you could see the Dodgers throwing out there all the time. And don't forget, you have Enrique Hernandez, Austin Barnes, Edwin Rios. These guys on the bench. The Dodgers led the majors in scoring and home runs in the regular season. And while they didn't walk as often as the Rays, there was a far greater gap in the two club strikeout rates, right? The Rays ranked second with a 26.9 strikeout percentage. The Dodgers were 28th at just 20.3%. So it has gone for the Rays in the playoffs. While wherein they've whiffed like 29% of their plate appearances in there. Just strikeout. Dodgers 22.7% as far as strikeout percentage there. And look, at Tampa Bay has out-homered Los Angeles 25-18 on the whole. The Dodgers made up for that advantage in the NLCS round. They homered 16 times in that round. 16 times compared to just 11 times for the Rays. So they haven't been exactly lighter world on fire. It would sure help for the Rays if a guy like Randy Arozarena continues his postseason hot streak. But even then, the Dodgers would still have the offensive edge. I think they do have the offensive edge when you compare the two teams here. As far as the defense, are the Rays a better defensive team than the Dodgers? Well, it's arguably a push. The Rays and the Dodgers rank second and fifth in defensive runs saved during the regular season. Both clubs made a huge impression with their glove in the playoffs. That you do have to give them. And I think that you might even say that defense was the reason that the Astros got beat in the ALCS. Infielders always seem to be in the right positions, and they got excellent catches from Kevin Kiermaier, Manuel Morgat in the outfield. You look at that pitching staff: Glasnow, Blake Snell, Charlie Morton, John Curtis, Ryan Thompson, Brian Yarbrough, and the starters right now are Anderson, Castillo, Peter Fairbanks, Jose Alvarado, Aaron Loop, and Aaron Stegers, for say those names a gazillion times. Hold on for me 1 second, guys. Look, you have Glasnow for Tampa Bay, Blake Snell, Charlie Morton. That's a good three. That's a good three-headed monster. 2.96 ERA through 54.2 54 and 2/3 innings. This postseason can attest, while Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler have pitched to a 2.61 ERA, but the Dodgers don't have a number 3 after them. Who's their starter after them? So that's still in the air. Now, if I'm looking at this, if I look at this, now, I think that the Dodgers should win this. They should win this. But, you have got to pay close attention to the Dodgers. Because, but Clayton Kershaw, he has wronged his demons from prior years. Now he's taking his team to the World Series. So that's a good little adjustment period that you have. So that's good for him on his part. I will leave you with short timeout. I will leave you something with little baseball video, which you could always subscribe on my YouTube channel at From the Bleachers Sports Show. Let's see what type of how about when Buck Showalter was fired from the Orioles? We could retro listen to that as we take a break. And you could also subscribe to my channel. Hold on. Buck Showalter has been let go, has been released as manager of the Baltimore Orioles, along with GM Dan Duquette. I think the Orioles lost 116 games this season. Now, I'll tell you this, and this is just my honest sense. If you're an Oriole fan, I'm sure you'll be forever grateful for Buck for bringing this team out of the dark years and giving the sweet taste of victory again, right? He restored pride kind of in that fan base that had grown weary and got used to the abuse from the franchise, and going from botched rebuild to botched rebuild over and over again. Deserves credit from that. But he's also responsible for this disaster of a season, right? He is the manager. And it's his job to get these guys to perform. Now, I know a lot of these guys, a lot of Oriole fans hate the owner, want the owner gone, Angelos gone. Listen, Angelos is not firing himself. He's not selling the team. So this is what happens. Usually, in this case, it's both the manager and the GM. So both were at fault. Okay, in the sense of the players that the GM got, what the contracts that given out probably, or just looking at a fresh new approach to everything, and the manager is responsible. The team ranked 18th in fielding. Surprised me, honestly, they were that high. 27th in hitting and 30th in pitching. The entire team lacked basic fundamentals that an average fan should expect from a group of professional ball players, especially on the major league level. The team needs a new coaching staff, especially hitting and pitching coaches.
Now, don't forget the old take the dominant starter out in the 7th so Brock or Day can blow it. Who was that bright spot in the pen too? Beliler was probably the only one. Can you maybe get a Jim Palmer into some pitching practice sessions, right? You probably say that to yourself if you're an Oriole fan. It's just been, rough. Now, you got to think to yourself, listen, when you look at that pitching, there was no, why did Buck Showalter speak up? Did he become complacent? Why was he quiet about the lack of pitching? You didn't have a number 1 or number 2 pitcher. How do you go into the season and not speak up, assuming that he didn't? But
no, I'm recording.
Certain things you got to be held accountable. It just can't be all one. Everyone is all in on this. I think it was definitely time for a change. He just wasn't a fit for a team anymore. Was definitely a good manager. I think this year this team died on him. And unfortunately, ownership decisions have condemned this team to the cellar for the next few years. Maybe this rebuild that you're going through will finally to figure out how to develop starting pitching. They have no farm system. That's the problem, though. No scouts in foreign markets, and very little investment in getting A ball players into the majors. They trade away talent. Needs to be kind of a whole sea of change in how things are ran at the top. It has to be a top priority. Hope all is well. Look forward to speaking to you guys very, very soon.
How about that for a nice video? Going way back to the time machine, talking about Buck Showalter when he was let go by the Baltimore Orioles. Buck Showalter, on a side note before we get back to the video, Buck Showalter kind of reminds me of the recently fired coach, manager rather, from Chicago White Sox, right? So Chicago White Sox just blew chunks completely the last couple of years. This year they were actually pretty damn good, pretty damn impressive. And as soon as they get pretty damn impressive, the manager is fired, and a new manager is coming on. So he's not able to reap the benefits of his labor. Kind of what happened with Buck Showalter. Just never really was able to reap the benefits of those great Yankee teams, and instead, Joe Torre came aboard. But just going back, just previewing, that game 3, the Dodgers, they're going to lean on a confident Walker Buehler, right? He's going to make his 5th start of the postseason in this one. Buehler was outstanding in his previous start in Game 6 of the NLCS against the Braves, tossing 6 shutout innings in a 3-1 win. He's a talented right-hander, and has only allowed a combined 4 runs in his 4 starts, which equates to a 1.89 ERA and a 1.37 WHIP, complemented by a 1-0 record, right? Buehler is an ace, sported a 3.44 ERA and 0.95 WHIP in his 8 regular season starts. First career meeting against the Rays, right? You're going to have the leadoff hitter there, Mookie Betts. He's very familiar with the Rays. And he's familiar with the Rays because he spent quite a few years with the Red Sox, and Red Sox really just didn't want to pay him. That's what it came down to. Mookie Betts has done good against the Rays in his career, very well actually. 310 average, 46 RBIs, 892 OPS in 97 games. Betts is having an effective postseason. So look at Betts going up against the Rays. And you can't have the Dodgers can't let the game 2 defeat get to them, right? You might argue that Dave Roberts had a rather bizarre game plan with his pitchers and ended up losing 4 pitchers in the first 4 innings, which had a big effect on the momentum of the team there. They, give them credit. Los Angeles came on strong late, but could not deliver with key hits in the 8th inning. They had scored a combined 12 runs in the first two games of the series. So, listen, Charlie Morton too, playing for Tampa. You got to get, you got to make sure you're rolling. I'll make sure you're rolling. Right now, they're on an off day rather, meaning they're staying in their hotels, resting. But you gotta, the Dodgers has got to put game 2 behind them. They need to. Going into when you look into this season, the thing that still gets me upset is that the Washington Capitals have signed Henrik Lundqvist, right? Henrik Lundqvist played on our team for many of years. Thought that he would actually, that there would be a possibility that he would retire with the New York Rangers, and that's not the case. That's not the case. Rather, rather he's with the Capitals. the Capitals and the Rangers, have a rivalry. They definitely have a rivalry, and a guy that what he did with the Rangers is, many of years he stood on his head. For the Rangers. And many of times where he had to lead that team into the promised land. So he moves on to Washington, and Lundqvist 38, 459, 310, 96, with a 243 goals against average, a .98 save percentage, 64 shutouts in 887 NHL games over 15 seasons, right? All with the Rangers and 130 playoff games. He's 61 and 67 with a 2.3 goals against average, a 921 save percentage, and 10 shutouts. During the 2019-2020 seasons, came out to 10, 2, and 3, 316 goals against average, and a .095 save percentage. Well, that's the best that he was going to do. And now it's his opportunity to show exactly what he could do. This is a contract that's that says, show me what you got. We're gonna show me what you got. You had this impressive resume. Are you able to do this year for us? And then if Henrik is able to do it, then you'll be going on to the next step, and you might sign Henrik even some more. But it's a good trade. It's a good trade. Like I don't know initially to start the season if Henrik will be starting, but he's a guy that's going to be able to provide leadership to this Capitals team, right? Especially since you lost some key stars here. One second, guys. Take a look. We're going to go retro again. And again, you could always tune into From the Future Sports Show and get your baseball needs, and football and hockey and everything else for that matter. Hold on here 1 second. Let's see. Going back 5 years ago, New York Mets must produce.
Mets manager Terry Collins says that he wants to retire in Queens, which is coincidentally where the Mets play. Terry, no one's stopping you. You could always retire. Listen, just want to give you some of my thoughts about the Mets right now. And the Mets have started off hot, now have kind of sizzled. And I think this is really the first year under Collins where fans can truly say that the playoffs are expected. This team is put together by Sandy, and it's still missing a big bat. There should be more pressure on Sandy to win than Collins. However, what the Mets need more than anything is new owners. The Mets, I think everyone acknowledges, even though I'm a Yankee fan, you got to acknowledge that the Mets have what it takes on the mound. Next year's rotation could be Harvey, DeGrom, Wheeler, Syndergaard, and Matz. No one has a 1 to 5 like that if all goes well. And Familia shows he has the makeup to be a primary closer. But who do they have besides beyond Lagares and catchers as top position players? Wright, Kadire, and Granderson are aging. Duda is hitting better for average, but he's missing the power. Murphy punched his, I think, exit ticket yesterday's game, by rushing a bunt from second and leaving first uncovered. The rest are backups. Again, Terry can only get so much out of guys who can hit or field. Let's be honest, without Harvey there to have stopped the bleeding a couple times already, Terry might have already been the former Mets manager. You can't blame the manager and the GM. You have to blame the ownership. They have no money and aren't willing to spend the money. For example, they could have signed Nelson Cruz 2 years ago, but they went with Chris Young. And again, last year, but they signed Kadire this year. Until this ownership sells, I think the Mets will never win. Until next time.
How many people watch it? Listen to it.
And there you could obviously subscribe to From the Bleachers Sports Show, of course. Of course. And we'll talk about Henrik Lundqvist before we leave and move on. Going to go into week 7. With Lundqvist, you could do worse than Henrik Lundqvist, even at age 38, for $1.5 million. It's a great price for a backup goaltender. Listen, Henrik Lundqvist is going to play you, 30 games at most? Yeah, if he has to play 45 due to injury, even if he has to play 45, he'll be fine. Maybe not great, but fine. At $1.5 million, all you're going to get, you might say, is fine. Maybe it won't be a backup. Maybe it's a 50-50 split. But he's going to be a great mentor to a goaltender like Sammy. You never know. Nothing, of course, is ever written in stone, and he could be comeback player of the year at age 38. Either way, point is that, $1.5 million, you're not losing anything. Now, remember too, this guy just stood on his head. And now, Lundqvist does have a chance to win a ring with a team like the Capitals. And remember that the NHL season is still going on as far as the free agent signings. So there's a lot out on the table for your respective teams and what you feel that they will be able to do this week. Hold on 1 second, guys. Looking into week 7 already. Week 7. A couple of things have been I've been sticking out. Did wanted to kind of go over it and lay everything out on the table. And that's, as far as this upcoming week in the NFL. This coming week, games not that easy to pick. You gotta use your intuition. You gotta use your investigation skills, for lack of a better word. So I'm trying to pull up the matchups for this coming week. And the matchups are not coming on the screen. I need to do a preview here. Let's see. The beauty of not being prepared and not being able to pull up the games. Let's see here. Where were the games? And the games, this week are pretty good games. I mean, it started off, I don't know if you guys even watched Monday Night Football. It started off by, as I'm stalling here, trying to find the schedule for this week. Started off with for this week with the Giants and the Eagles. Carson Wentz has been running for his life most of the season because there's injury everywhere that you go on his team. Did pull out a late victory by 1 point over the Giants. The Giants just won. It was a short week. The Giants just won their first game Sunday. So coming from a Sunday, which was a huge emotional win, going into Thursday, a short week, you kind of expected that they might have lose. Believe it or not, the NFC is so weak that all of these teams that are just awful are still in the running to actually win their division. And I know the Giant fans here are already trying to knock down Danny Dimes' door, trying to have him already out the door. As in, already they think that he is not the quarterback of the future. Remember that when the Giants drafted him, they drafted him as a project. And he was drafted, and he was, this guy was drafted out of nowhere, really. No one really had Daniel Jones on their radar, except the Giants. So you figure when the Giants made this type of a move in their draft, they see something in this kid. So I don't think that they will just, they're just ready to end the Daniel Jones project. Now, he has got to keep the football. He has got to stop making turnovers. He's got to hold on to the ball. And the Giants, even though that they've been losing, except that 49er game, I believe it was the 49ers where they were blown out, their games have been pretty close. So they have been hanging around. They've been hanging around. So it's not a total waste. The Jets, on the other hand, there, oof, we already went into that scenario. Listen, you could there could be many assumptions there already. I personally even think that maybe even the GM, it's a possibility that the GM maybe wants to. He's crossing his fingers for the Jets to get the first round pick. That way they could draft a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Remember that Douglas didn't draft Sam Darnold. He didn't draft him. It's not his guy. He wants to go with his guy. He's hoping somehow that the Jets are going to get the first pick. Now, listen, when people say that they tank for certain players, that it's not a guarantee that you're going to be first. And they're tanking because they want to grab their franchise player. I don't believe in that statement. These NFL players, their career on average, the span of having a football career is 3 or 4 years before you're out of the league. So they're not going to tank. I'm sure they're playing very hard as they possibly could. It's just unfortunately that the Jets do not have, they're not that talented of a team. We're going to go into week 7, do some previews, and then we'll leave you, and we will ask you obviously to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell for upcoming live streams of On Tap, and just regular videos that I do throughout the week. Lions versus the Falcons. Give you guys a preview there. This is a game where the Falcons are 1-5, Lions 2-3. Falcons already have fired their coach. Matt Ryan, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Stafford, 9 touchdowns, 4 INTs. Ridley is the top receiver there. And Galladay for the Royals, for the Lions. It's gonna be tough right now. All indications are that the Falcons might have an edge at this game. On a poll here recently, 59 to 40%. It's going to be very interesting to see how this breaks out as far as this game. 2-3 versus a 1-5 game, 1-5 team. Listen, kid, the Falcons win 2 in a row. Listen, their offense, without a doubt, the offense could definitely win 2 in a row. It just, how is that defense going to hold up, or the unfortunately the non-existent defense over the last couple of weeks. Yep. Give you guys another game here that I think you guys would be interested in as far as a preview. And again, being put on the spot. Hard to find that list. Dun 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 dun. One other thing besides the preview, that's probably going to be my game of the week that I just gave you. I think you'll be surprised. I think you guys will be surprised, and I think it'll be a very watchable game. So now, as we bid you adieu, don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. This is